Morning, guys. Dr. Ken Nordberg here again. The same old flannel shirt. And my daughter keeps complaining I wear the same shirt for too many seminars. But it's a cool day here in Minneapolis today. And first day I'm wearing a flannel shirt. Well, anyway, another incidence of conditioning that's good to know. You know, when you take a deer, besides the shots, or if you're one of those that uses a repeating rifle and shoots several times to get a deer, all that, that racket is one thing. But it's quite another. The sounds that a deer in the vicinity hear after that are quite another thing. And those sounds can be just as ruinous to future hunting in the area as those shots. The shots can be mistaken by deer as thunderbolts. And especially don't rush out right away to go see the deer that you just shot. You wait a little bit, 15 minutes or longer. Or wait for other deer in sight to move away. But what they hear after that can be every bit as ruining, if not more so. And because of that, something we do nowadays, we make a special effort to do that. Whenever we have a deer to field dress and drag back to camp, we do it silently. We discourage, a lot of times we only take one. We don't take our toboggan with us, and camera gear and all that when we go out to hunt. That makes it more likely you're going to make some strange noises that deer are going to recognize as your noises and therefore be extra cautious in the area where they heard the noise. We don't want any of that going. We want to get there as silently as possible from downwind or crosswind. So that big toboggan we use for bringing deer, we lace them on there so they can't fall off. That thing, which is noisy to carry in the woods, stays in the camp until we get one. But when we get back there, we're always looking for 2, 3, 4 other guys to help drag in a big buck. That makes it pretty easy, especially on that slippery toboggan, whether there's snow on the ground or not. And so we go back and get them. But we discourage others to come with us. And the ones that come with us have to be as quiet as possible. Human voices can be heard a long way. Some human voices more than others. My dad had a voice you could hear a mile away in the woods. It was kind of amazing. And there's others. But you don't want to be talking out loud when you're on a dragging crew, getting there or going back to camp. We make that process of getting that deer back to camp as silent as possible. Now, it's pretty hard to make 3, 4 guys walking through the woods to go get your deer from being completely silent. I mean, there's going to be some brush snapping and that kind of thing, and that's going to happen. But as long as those guys are moving steadily, if they're not hunting, if they're not stopping and looking around and sneaking and changing direction, that's going to frighten deer. And they're going to start avoiding that area for 4 or more days. If it makes them raise their tails and bound away, they're going to be gone for a week or 2 weeks, the entire deer season if they're big bucks. They're gone. We don't want that to happen. So we walk as silently as possible with our heads pointed straight ahead, non-stop, all the way to where that deer is. The guy that shot it leads the way, and they all go right back to where that deer is. Looking straight ahead, never stopping, never halting, never acting like we're sneaking and looking for a deer the whole way. Going all the way out there to where that deer is without stopping, as quietly as possible. And then, after field dressing, we take some pictures and all, but just whispering it most of it, whisper real silently to one another. and get the pictures, you know. We like the kill site pictures. They're a lot better than pictures of deer hanging from rafters in your garage for future generations to look at. But we're out there in the woods where we got the deer. So we get that out of the way, and we get the deer laced in that toboggan and get started back, and we go out the same way. Now, and usually, you know, by the time we get started on this and start back, it can be 30 minutes, an hour later, maybe even 2 hours later. It's later, and we're doing it silently. And we're walking steadily, non-stop, with our heads pointed straight ahead. Not talking, just silent. When we do that, we are not ruining the vicinity in that area for future hunting. Tomorrow you could come out here and get another buck. Whereas, oh boy, look at the size of that. Oh, that's so nice here. I want another picture of you here. And how about one here? Turn it this way, and that kind of thing. And you're talking all the way out there, and everybody's all excited and can't wait to see the deer. And then talking all the way back, and hold it a minute. The antlers here are stuck under this log. You know, making racket like that. You don't want that to happen. The last guy on the drag rope on the toboggan, his job is keep those antlers from snagging. But as long as you're quiet, you're conditioning deer in the area to believe that whatever you're doing has nothing to do with hunting. And they aren't going to abandon the area. You're not hunting. You aren't going to abandon the area. And that area, that square, that surrounding as big as a square mile, isn't it? You know, those bucks live in a square mile area. Some of them, not many, have a 2 square mile area. And farm areas can be several miles long, but real narrow, following stream beds, brushy stream beds and woodlots and things like that. But just that square mile is where they live. And in there, in the woods, there's 15 more deer in that square mile. And by frightening deer along the way, going and coming from, you know, and dragging in the deer, holy cow, are you ruined that area. Put 15 deer in that square mile. They'll all hear you. They can hear you that far. They can smell you a mile, 2 miles away. Downwind. All those things. They can know you're there, but if you're not hunting and you're silent during all this thing, you're not ruining air. You're conditioning them to believe it's safe to live here. You know, but they're just passing through, those humans. So that's another way of conditioning whitetails and improving your chances of taking a big buck in the future. So keep that in mind. Boy, and you know, that's another reason we do not use ATVs or any other mechanized machinery like a snowmobile or OHV to transport deer we've taken back to camp. That is a noisy thing. You know, every time they hear a motorized vehicle moving through the woods, mature whitetails understand very well. And how far can they hear one? You can hear one a mile, 2 miles away. And so can they, and even further, because their hearing is a lot better. But when they hear that, they know that's being there's a human on it. There's a human on it, and when it stops, you know, if it stops right over there somewhere, the older, experienced whitetails, especially the bucks, know a human is going to be walking here very soon in this area, and they don't want to be here. And they're going to remember that. Tomorrow they hear a thing coming, and Jesus stopped in the same place. From that time on, they're going to be avoiding this area, keeping well out of sight of it. So when you're using an ATV or a motorized vehicle to haul a deer to camp, you're doing the same thing. You're telling them, here comes a human, and it doesn't matter if you're going there to hunt or you're going there to drag a deer, and then you load the deer on your ATV and go back. There's a huge noise that they never forget. And they know what it means. Older deer, not young deer, you know, fawns and yearlings might not realize that, what I just told you. and they're not as fond of yearlings, but older deer certainly do, and especially older bucks certainly do. We do not bring any motorized vehicle, snowmobile or ATV to our camp. Now, we tried it for a while. My son Dave was particularly anxious to try that because some of the areas he hunted were really out there ways. But we tried it and we learned, and even when bear hunting we learned, using one really can really screw up the area for hunting. If you're hunting a big bears are like older bucks. They learn things and they're up to 30 years of life. And boy, those things are dangerous, especially when they stop nearby. Then they know, oh boy, there's a human here. That motor means that a human is going to be here where it stops. And they don't like that. And you can screw up a bear hunting stand site really quickly using ATVs around, or use. Well, of course, when you get the bear, I suppose, and this is the only one you can take, I suppose it wouldn't bother you now. But keep in mind, next year if you hunt in the same place, that motorized vehicle is going to be announced to people, here comes a hunter, whether you're hauling in bait or not, or just hunting them. So we don't use them anymore. Not when we're buck hunters. Sure, it's more work to drag them in the way we drag them in, but it's so worthwhile. That's another really big reason why you might not be seeing any big bucks, or rarely see them, no matter what kind of lure you use, because of motorized vehicles you use. So that's up to you, of course, but if you want to take big bucks, that's one thing you should quit doing. Quit using motorized vehicles, get to and from stand stores, or to haul deer out from the woods. So I wouldn't do it. No way. I want to be able to hunt there some more. Yeah, here I am, 85. I walk everywhere now. I can go 2 miles in the woods without stopping nowadays. My sons won't allow me to drag a deer anymore, and I appreciate that. So usually, but they want me to take pictures. Because I get out there and I take these pictures, and then they start out ahead of me, and boy, I can hardly keep up to them. When you get 3 of my big strapping sons on a drag-in rope, boy, they can get out of the woods in a hurry, and they're non-stop. Yeah, no, if I can do it, gosh, you can do it. If you're 20-some years old and you have to have an ATV to take a deer out of the woods, that's terrible. Well, in one way, you won't have to take a big deer out of the woods if you're using the ATV. So keep that in mind. Okay, guys, that's it. And for now, press that subscribe button down there, that red one down below here, and that thumbs up button as well. And if you haven't got your 10th edition yet, get it soon. You're going to want to keep all these things where you can check on them during the hunting season. That's going to be a nice thing to have in deer camp. Get that soon. And with that, thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Be sure to visit my website. Here's the link. Here you'll find links to my blog posts, my Twitter account, my YouTube account, my Amazon store with links to my ebooks, my son's eBay store, a money saver if you're ordering from Canada or other countries, my website bookstore, and much more.